Hi, I'm Erin from Create, Dream and Paint. Today we are going to work on a fun project about line and shape. You will need your paint supplies, pencil, and eraser. Let's get started. So today we're going to be talking about line and shape again. I know we've discussed it before, but it's really important on how we break apart how we're doing a drawing so it doesn't get so complicated. So I'm just going to remind you that a line is how you get from one point to another. You can do that with a straight line, a curved line, all sorts of lines. And then if we take our lines, we put them all together, we have a shape. So today we're going to make a tree out of our handprint. We're going to put our hand on our paper or canvas or cardboard, whatever you have, and we're going to draw a simple line outlining your hand. If you're having a hard time holding your hand still and drawing, you can always have your mom or dad or brother and sister put their hand down and outline their hand. Or you can have them draw the line around your hand. There's lots of different options. So I've drawn a line outlining my hand. And I am going to take that line and close up the shape. And that's a hand shape. So I'm going to treat this like this hand is the branches of a tree. So I'm going to take two long lines, makes the trunk of the tree. And then I'm going to put in the ground, just like we did the first class where we were drawing our house and we drew the ground. So next, I'm going to put a few shapes in the sky. So let's do little mini cloud shapes. It's going to break up the sky. And look, it's just line and a shape. So let's try another one, maybe right here. You notice too with clouds, not always, but a lot of the time, the bottom of the cloud is a bit more flat than the top. And that's usually how I draw mine. And later we're going to get into the leaves of the tree. But we're going to do that when we paint. Okay, I'm trying to think what else we could add to the ground. We could always do a couple shapes like grass. So those are like long, thin footballs. So I'm just going to draw those. And you can draw them later after you paint as well. You might be able to get the background on and then draw some grass. You could put flowers. You could put bugs. You could put another tree. You could put lots of things. Okay, so I'm going to go and get my paints ready and I'll be right back. So we're back. I got all the paints ready. Who knows, maybe I add to some of them too. I do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint my hand shape a light green. So do you remember how we talked about color value this month and how you can take white and add it to a color to make it lighter? Makes it a lighter value. Okay, So I've got that all mixed up. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to paint the branches of the tree. It's really my handprint. Green. I'm just going to paint it all one flat green, light green color. And if you decide you want your tree to be a different color, you definitely can do that. Because we're going to add some shapes of leaves in the tree after. And there's our line and shape. So next time you're out with your parents, and if you go to the grocery store, I want you to look and see what kind of shapes you can see. Maybe you could talk to your mom and dad about it, or your grandma and grandpa. The grocery store, if you went into the cereal aisle and all the boxes of cereal, you would see they're all rectangles. I bet you could find lots of different shapes. So you see what you can find. Feel free to send me a message and let me know. Here we go. So we're painting the tree up. Remember I told you sometimes some colors come out a little more translucent, and that means they can look streaky or you can see through them. So feel free to paint your image, let it dry, and go in and paint it again. And you'll find that will help. Color green is a fun color. And the color green can be so different. If you look at something that's a green car to green leaves, or even just the trees, how they're all a different kind of green. With green, sometimes I will add the color blue. And that's what we're going to do when we go in and make the leaf shapes in the tree. It darkens that green up to be a little bit. It's darker, and I like kind of how vibrant it can be. But it's just plain to see what colors you can mix. But we're going to start talking about that in the next couple weeks too, is how do we make certain colors? Here we go. So I'm super excited about next week. Next week, we're going to be learning about one of my favorite artists, and he was Vincent van Gogh. I don't know if you've ever heard of him. There was just an exhibition in Saskatoon, and they had it was almost like a big movie theater screens in his paintings. And I've read so many books about him and his paintings. So once a month, I'm going to pick something in art history. So if that's an artist or a famous painting, and we're going to do an art project that kind of represents what we're learning about. Because in art history, there's so many interesting things to learn. So if you know of any artists you want to learn about, or any paintings that you've heard about and you'd like to know more, I just need you to send that to me and I could put a whole lesson plan together based on it. I think it's super interesting if you kind of look at people's paintings. They kind of look the same towards other artists' paintings in that time frame sometimes, or artists from another time period. And it's interesting to know kind of what connects them. I read so many books about it. And if you're ever really interested in learning about art history too, go to the library. We go there all the time to take out books. And usually there's an art history for kids area in most libraries. If you're ever looking for ideas, I always have ideas of books. And maybe one of these days I'm going to put some information together and put it up on the site. So Vincent van Gogh was known for making nighttime skies extremely vibrant. So we're going to be, and he used a really interesting kind of brush stroke. So we are going to learn that brush stroke so we can try to create a painting that kind of has that look of his. So I'm super excited about putting that one together. Okay, so I'm mixing a nice light blue for the sky. Here we go. Remember I told you if it's a big area, you can go ahead and use a bigger brush. And then when it gets into more around the branches or your fingers, you can move to a smaller brush. And don't feel like it's got to all happen right now. If all of a sudden you've had enough of painting the sky, go in and paint the grass. Or if you need a break, just take a break. Pause the video and come back later when you feel more like painting again. And the neat thing is you can do these classes over and over again and just use different colors or draw things just a different way. You notice what's happening. I didn't wait until the handprint was dry. So I'm gonna let that dry so I can come back and go over that. So I'm just gonna kind of leave where I messed it up. And we're always gonna do stuff like that. Kind of push ourselves out of our comfort zones. And I probably knew I shouldn't do that, but I did anyway. Okay, so I'm just gonna go around the grass here. Around the handprint. And I want you to remember too, if you're painting and you're painting an area of your canvas that's hard to reach, I'm going to show you. I will flip my canvas upside down or sideways, whatever helps me, so I can kind of get the effect I'm looking for. It doesn't always have to stay up and down like a piece of paper if you're like when you're writing. Okay, so I'm gonna move it over like this, and that's gonna help me be able to paint a little bit nicer. Try really hard not to get my head in the way of the camera. I'm learning to paint a little bit farther back. And like I said, if ever you have any questions at all, you just let me know. You guys can send me some information about what you're having problems with, and I'll definitely get back to you as soon as I see it. Okay. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna keep going through my painting. So I'm gonna color it like I was coloring a coloring book. I'm not gonna worry too much about little details. I am just gonna color what's here. So I am going to paint the sky and the grass and the little blades of grass and the trunk of the tree. And then I'm gonna come back and we're gonna talk about the shapes in the paintings. So I'll be back right away. So we're back. We colored in everything like a coloring book. Some of the stuff is still a little bit wet, so I'm gonna work my way around that. But I figured we would put some shapes in the branches of the tree. So I thought we would do some shapes like, here, I gotta find a brush here to do that. Shapes like leaves. So you could go in with a marker and draw the shapes like a leaf. I'm gonna go in and paint them, and then I'm gonna use a marker later. So I took my green, and remember I told you take your lighter green and you can mix it with blue. You get a darker green. So I'm going to use this darker green for the grass, blades of grass, and for the leaves. And we're going to try some different things. When I'm doing leaves of the trees, they never look totally perfect. I kind of like things that they don't look perfect. So I might go in and just make some marks with my brush. So just like rectangles, like you just put your brush down, and I want you to go around the tree and try that. What What different shapes can you make just by putting the brush down with paint? So pretty much these are like squares and rectangle shapes. That's kind of cool. Because these are brush marks we're going to want to remember how to do. Because we can change up a painting by the details just by how we put the brush down. I'm going to go through the tree. We're just going to keep going like that. And then I want to see like what other shape can we make. So I'm just going to kind of drag it like that on the side. I just made a leaf. You could do triangles. You can do all sorts of things. You know what, I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna fill that in, just like that. Then I'm just gonna go in like I did before. Just put the leaves down on the tree. You're learning a brush stroke. With painting, that's something you're gonna wanna learn how to do. Like, if I hold my brush a certain way, what does the paint look like? A little bit more green. And I'm gonna work my way around the tree. Then we're gonna go in and add some of those brush strokes to the ground for the grass. And you know, if you wanted to, you could paint or draw with markers a little bird in a nest. That actually might be kind of cute. So think about the things you could do. None of us are going to make it the exact same. So I'm just going to go in and put the leaves on the tree. Now, if you just want to put a few leaves, or in the fall, what color do the leaves turn? Lots of oranges and browns, and you could add those too to your tree if you wanted. I think I'm going to stick with green, but that doesn't mean that you can't go into some of the other colors. Okay, we're going to mix some of that blue and green and get that really rich green. And then I'm going to go in and I kind of painted a few blades of grass. I'm just going to kind of outline them with my paintbrush. And I might go in and create just a few random pieces. So instead of going in like I did with the leaves where it was flat, I just go in on the edge of my brush. Just work your way up. Just lightly. Perfect. And you don't have to do that all over the entire painting. It just is some interest, right? Like we're just putting it in a few different spots. Like I might put it at the front of my painting in the corner. Try that in the corner. Well, you go in and you can add some flowers. So pick some cool colors. And with flowers, I'm going to show you something here. Flowers, I'm going to put some blue. This is a pretty intense blue. Might dull it down a little bit. Some black. But you could create flowers. So just how you had your paintbrush before, just kind of go in with random colors. You could do pink, you could do purples, all sorts of wild flowers, right, on the ground. That's the thing, it's just kind of seeing what you think at the time. Sometimes I don't know even what I'm painting right until I get my paintbrush. And then I'll try something, and like we always say, you can go in and change it too. I kind of like this blue, so I'm going to add some of my blue, this dark blue, just to some of these leaves. See? Just kind of putting a polka dot, or not really polka dot, I guess the way I'm looking at it, it's more of a square rectangle how I'm putting my brush down. I'm just working that into the leaves there, just to add some interest. Remember how we said we can just kind of draw little random doodles? Perfect. And then we're going going to kind of go into the sky and see what we can do there. So I definitely want you to send this in. If your parents don't know how to get onto the Facebook group, let them know to check their emails or send me a message, because we've got it up and running so we can all share what our pictures look like, if you'd like to. Some of us are I used to be very secret about my paintings. I did not like a lot of people to look at them. Now it's a little different, but we all go through things like that where we feel like we don't want people to look. So I'm going to take my marker and I'm going to kind of add, I'm going to see this was a bit wet. It still is. This is a dry cloud. So I'm going to add a gray line all around this cloud. Remember I said you can make little doodles in the sky. Maybe the wind is coming from over here. That's kind of cool. Some wind over here. I know it's a little wet, so I'll be careful not to hit that part of the paint. But remember I said you don't have to stay in the lines. It's not a rule. People might tell you that, and that's not true. I love not staying in the lines. And then I was doing the wind this way, so let's just put a few gusts of wind. See what you can do. I want to add one more thing before we go. I'm going to put some wind right here. You could go in with paint too. Or do a sun like we did the first time. We could put a sun in there. But I kind of like how that is all working out. I'm going to grab a brown marker and I'm going to put a bird's nest. See how we can just add things as we go? And then I'm going to add blue robin's eggs to the bird's nest. Mama's bird's out. She's not there right now. Let's see what you can do. That's kind of cute. And I might add, for detail, just a few dark sticks in the nest to make it look a little bit more realistic. And maybe there's the mama bird coming back. Okay, so send me in your photos. I want to see what you do this week with your line and shape. And remember, it's all up to you. You get to put in what you like. You can even go in here and add some more grass or add some leaves for your flowers with some markers. And then send me a picture. I'll see you next week.